So let's take a look at this political cartoon here. And what's going on in this? Alright, so he's saying this is all mine, right? And what is he standing on? Africa. So he's saying Africa is all mine. Africa is all mine. What you represented yesterday was countries that were about to take over certain parts of the world. Africa and Asia are going to be targeted because what happened in North America what happened in America first?
Oh, we got away from Great Britain.
Yeah, there you go. So Great Britain loses its colonies in America. After the American Revolution, where we kicked Britain out, what happened in South America?
South America did the same thing.
South American countries do. Spain, Brazil, France, right? They get rid of all of their colonies there too. So Europe is losing territory all around the world. So what they want to do now is get it from somewhere else, namely Africa and Asia. So what is known as the scramble for Africa are these countries, much like you were doing yesterday, scrambling to get things all around the room. But remember, Group A, who was Group A? Was that you guys?
Yeah, boy.
How much stuff did you get? You got a lot, right? And then who was Group E? That was you guys. How much did you get? Yeah, not a lot, right? You guys represented countries who were ready to go. Countries who were ready to start taking over other countries. Namely, Great Britain, where you see a lot of pink, and France, where you see a lot of green. They were ready to go. They take up a lot of land.
But it's people in Madagascar.
Yes. Not just animals. Not just the lion and the giraffe and the hippo and all that. No. I can't. JC, what was your question? You don't remember. Alright, so those countries are like our first two groups. It didn't have a lot of steps to do. Okay. The reason that Great Britain and France are able to start going early and gaining this territory is because they went through the Industrial Revolution extremely quickly. Remember what happened in the Industrial Revolution? They started making stuff really fast. If we think back to those videos I showed you about the eggs, remember?
Yeah.
Right? What do you do with all those eggs? You eat them, but what happens after you've eaten them and you've given them to everybody in the classroom? What do you have to do then? You got all these eggs left over.
You grow them.
Okay, you might grow some chickens, yes. But what else could you do with those eggs? You gonna let them go to waste? No, you're gonna sell them, right? So we might walk to other classrooms and start selling them. We want to make some money off the stuff that we were making. No. Great Britain and France are ready to go. They need to find places where they can get their stuff. Also, there are going to be some other reasons they do that as well. In Asia, it's going to be the same thing. We're going to talk about Asia a little bit next week, so I'm going to save us that information for then. Okay, so let's take a look at this picture as well. What is happening? Who is being represented in this picture? All right, so China, very good. China itself is represented by this pizza pie down here, right? And then this gentleman right here. And what is he saying? Stop, enough, right? But who else is represented in this? Who's cutting up China?
England, Russia.
So England, this would be Germany.
Oh yeah, Germany. Belgium.
No.
French.
Wait, isn't Belgium part of Germany?
So yeah, we have. This might be
Middle Eastern.
This is Russia. Who does this represent over here?
Where?
No, Greek.
No.
The Athens one.
It actually represents America. America, Lady Liberty, back there. And then who is this?
That's Middle Eastern.
No.
That's
India.
It's not India.
It's Morocco.
Portuguese.
No.
Mecca and Medina.
No. Think other Asian countries, not China.
Mongolia.
Japan.
Japan, very good. Japan is actually going to be taking a look as well. So again, we're talking about imperialism, taking over of land in both Africa and Asia. We're going to start with Africa, however. This is where your notes start. So what is imperialism? It is the seizure or the taking over of a weaker country by a stronger country. Where are they going to be taking over? That is going to be Africa and Asia. Make sure that you are taking these notes. When? It's going to be the 19th and 20th century. That means the late 1800s into the early 1900s. Most of Africa is going to be in the 19th century, so that again, that's the 1800s. Whereas Asia is going to sort of bridge that gap between the 1800s and into the 1900s. So again, European countries are not happy that they've lost their land in the Americas. So what they do is they set out to get more land in Africa and Asia for many different reasons. We're going to learn about those reasons today. Because it goes beyond just trying to get rid of their stuff, like I'm talking about with the eggs. Yeah, boy. Alright, moving on. So why? There are 5 different motives. What is a motive? Motivation. What does motivation do?
Something that
Makes you want to do it, right? So why do the European countries want to go in and take over Africa? One reason
because it's hot as heck.
Is religion. People called missionaries want to convert people to Christianity. They're still trying to spread their religion in other places. They have successfully done so in North and South America, dominated by Christianity. So, where are we going to have to go to next where there's no Christians? Africa and Asia. Okay? What is a missionary? Somebody who spreads the word of God. Always Christian, right? That's a Christian mentality that you need to... Well, but missionary, they call it something different in different religions. You're right, though. There are people who try to convert others. But Christians really try to go and convert people from African nations, and also will go into Asia as well. In Africa, it is accepted more widely. Once they get to Asia, the Christians are really going to be persecuted and even killed on a large scale for trying to convert people. We're going to get back to religion in just a minute. Second motive, another reason why the European countries are going in, economic. When we talk about the economy or economic, what does that mean?
Money.
Simply money, right? So the Industrial Revolution, they need to get rid of their stuff somewhere. They want to sell it. We can't sell all this stuff to people where we are because they've already bought it. We need to get it going somewhere else. Also, they want to find natural resources elsewhere. Namely, what do you think they're going to look for in Africa?
Gold.
Gold, very good. What are they going to look for in Asia?
Spices.
Spices, tea, things like that. Very good. So they're going to be looking for these things as well as trying to sell others as well. We'll talk, like I said, we're going to talk about Asia next week. But in Asia, Asia doesn't want to trade with Europe. They say, your stuff we don't like, you're barbarians, we can make everything that we need ourselves, right? But we want their stuff, so it's going to cause some problems between Europe and Asia. Again, like I said, we're going to talk about that next week, a little bit more in depth. Third reason, ideological. What does that word look like? Or what's in that word? Ideas, right? This is where it gets dicey. This is where it gets not so fun. The idea of social Darwinism. Now, this stems from Charles Darwin, who comes up with a theory of evolution, saying that the strongest and the best will survive. Right? He means that in an evolution sense. Like, if you can adapt to your surroundings, you will survive because you are strong. Talks about that with animals. Yes. But if you put it to a social sense, that means that the best race will survive. The way it is interpreted is that the white race is better. The white race is better, and therefore they should go out and convert everybody to how they are.
No.
I didn't say it's right. I'm saying that's the thought that they had. Also, the belief in racism and superiority, that the white race is better than others, and therefore they should go out and start saying you should adopt the ways and beliefs that we have. And this goes back to religion. Because these missionaries, who, yes, are white, are going and telling the people in Africa, telling the people in Asia that we are converting you to Christianity. Christianity is the best religion out there. That's what they're telling these people. Now, there's two reasons, and it goes into conjunction with number 3. There's 2 reasons why missionaries tried to convert people. What is one of those reasons? Why do missionaries want to convert people to Christianity? Yes, so they can gain the most amount of followers of their religion, so that their religion is spread. But why do they think that they are better than other religions? Well, that's how they think, but why? Well, there's a lot. But what's the theory behind it? And let's think of this in a good term. Like, in a good way, why would you want to spread or share your religion with somebody? Because you think it's right. Because you think that the Christian God is going to save you. You will go into heaven if you are saved, right? That's the whole thought behind missionary work. They go into Africa and they tell these people, when you die, you're going to burn in hell because you don't believe in our God. So it scares people into converting. And that's that. But again, it's this whole superiority thing. We're better than you, but we're going to try to share that with you. All right, fourth one. Fourth one is political. Political, and when we talk about political or politics, what are we talking about?
Government.
Government. Very good. So there are going to be nations, much like you did yesterday, we're competing over the same stuff in the room. You wanted to get to the TV first, but you couldn't. You wanted to get to the Mona Lisa first, but you couldn't. You wanted to get to the door first, but you couldn't. You're competing with everybody in the classroom to put your sticky notes up. That's exactly what these countries are going to do too. Great Britain and France start going, taking huge pieces of Africa, and the other countries are like, holy crap, we need to get going or else we're not going to be as strong anymore. Right? So there's going to be big competition between those European countries. Now I can tell you, we're foreshadowing something that's about to happen. And that is World War I. Because on one hand you have Great Britain and France.
Don't they kill Ferdinand and do that?
Well, we'll get there. We have Great Britain and France. 2 very, very strong countries at the time. They go in, take over large pieces of Africa. What 2 countries were not ready to go yet, but Germany and Italy? Guess what the 4 biggest countries that fight in World War I are?
America.
Those 4 right there. Great Britain and France are on one side, while Germany and Italy are on the other. Yes, America will join the war, but not until later. Okay? So these 4 countries are going to be the main contributors involved. All right, there is a 5th one that is not on my PowerPoint, so I'm going to have to write it down. It is exploratory. And this one is sort of self-explanatory as well. What does that word look like? Explore. And again, when you go out exploring, what are you trying to do? Find new stuff. right? Not only are you trying to find new land, but you might be trying to find new things, right? New stuff. You're trying to find that gold, trying to find those rubies, those diamonds, things like that. That's definitely going to happen. That is a big, big pull for people. And why do people explore again? Well, yes, they want, again, going back to this political thing, they want more land. But why did they individually do it?
To be recognized.
To be recognized, right? To be famous, to make a mark on history. We got that last one? All right. So this one, yes, Uncle Sam. And who does Uncle Sam represent? Us, meaning America, right? Now, does that look like a very nice Uncle Sam? No, I wouldn't want him to be my uncle. But what is he essentially? What is he doing here? He's marking territory. He's putting his flag down. Well, it's actually his face. He's putting that down over the rest of the world. America again gets hungry in terms of gaining more land as well. Okay. So we have our motivations. We know why European countries are coming out. So they start on a mass scale, taking over Africa. They try to get into Asia again. We'll talk about that next week. But now, to the rest of the world, they have to come up with justifications. What does this word mean, or what is the root word of justification? To justify, right? What does it mean to justify something? Huh? Not quite. Explain why it's right. So, yeah. Many of you might justify your behavior all day long. Your teacher might say, "Why are you on your cell phone?" And what's always the answer? "My mom's texting me." Bull. But you're justifying to your teacher why you're on your phone, right? So you are giving a justification. So, like I said, the European countries have to give justification. They're saying social Darwinism. Again, this pops up saying we are better than others. We need to share this sort of wealth of greatness that we have. We have to share it with everybody else. I don't think anybody outwardly said it's because our race is better than others, but it was definitely prevalent. The idea, anyway, is that the white race, the European race, is better than that of the Asians and that of the Africans, and therefore we need to help them get to where we are. The idea that, again, white is better than any other race. Kind of messed up, but that's real life. This one, a little bit better, saying that our stuff that we make is better than yours, right? So we are coming to share this stuff with you. Now, when I say technology, what is the one thing that is going to be better than others that really makes a difference? What is one thing that helps take over countries? Weapons, right? When we talk about weapons, we usually talk about guns, because guns were not, in a large scale, were not in Africa at the time. Guns were definitely not in Asia, because specifically in Japan, what were they still using? Swords. Samurai swords, right? And the guns are going to come in, and it's going to be very, very easy to persuade the Japanese to do what they want, because they had better stuff, superior technology. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Then there's this. Probably the most confusing part of the entire thing. And it goes back to this thought that the whites are better than any other race. This poem comes out about the white man's burden. And what's a burden? What does that mean? Not a bird. a burden, something holding you back, or something that you have to do that's making you go out of your way, right? You don't want to do it, but you have to do it, okay? So when you apply it to the white man, or Europeans in this case, it was their burden, their task. They had to do it. They, whatever, to westernize and civilize the African and Asian people, meaning that the Africans and Asians were not up to par, and therefore we had to change them so that they could be better. It's kind of messed up, right? But it was the reality. The thought that because the European countries had gone through the Industrial Revolution and had made such better stuff and made stuff on a bigger scale and were gaining all this money, that Europe was way better. So the white man went to these countries where there weren't whites and made it better for them, at least in their eyes. Questions on justifications? All right. Again, we saw this, so we'll skip over that. Okay, so now it comes to the point where, how are we going to control these different places? And there's three different ways, and one is extremely confusing. So I'll give you an example in just a minute. We know what this one is, right? We know what a colony is. What's a colony? What's a colony? Huh? It's a settlement. Okay. Okay, but they're all ruled by a different country. Okay. And why do you set colonies up? What's the purpose of a colony? What's the purpose of having a colony?
To show that it's your property.
Okay, to show it's your property, to have control, but to gain money. Then there's going to be this thing called indirect control. We'll get into that in just a minute. Also, a sphere of influence. And then this idea of economic imperialism, sort of going back to that whole idea of the colony. Alright, moving on. Alright, so let's talk about what a colony is. A colony is a country or a territory that is managed or governed internally by a foreign power. The easiest example would be when Great Britain ruled over the 13 colonies in America. What eventually happened? America gains its independence from it. But that is the easiest example. So when you think of colony, think of Great Britain controlling the American colonies. So when we look at this map of Africa, colonies are very, very prevalent. Most of the countries in Africa are going to be colonies, where there is control from a different country, those in Europe, over the countries in Africa. Now, were African people living here? Yeah, of course they were. But who are they being ruled by? And that's going to be the European countries. So, where you see this orangey color, right? Great Britain rules over those places. Where you see the pink color, France is ruling over those places. They're ruling over African people, but they are in control. Okay, so now let's talk about direct rule. So this again is like a colony, where you have foreign officials brought to rule that country. So we'll take Egypt, for example. Egypt is in what continent? Africa, yes. The British brought people there to rule over them. So they bring British people to rule over those countries. All right? Vietnam, Angola, East Africa, again, being Egypt and the like. Now, indirect rule is a little bit different. Indirect rule is where you use local officials. JC, what do you think that means? Local official. So instead of Britain sending their own people to rule over the country, they're going to use local officials. What does that mean then? They're going to use the people who live there, right? So they're going to use Egyptians there. Now, but who do they have to answer to? They have to answer to the British before they do anything, okay? The easiest way I can make this accessible to you is think about when you have a substitute teacher. When you have a substitute, are they the ruler? Are they the teacher in the classroom?
No.
Yes.
No.
That day they are the teacher in the classroom, right? But who do they have to answer to? No, they don't answer to you. Who do they answer to? The real teacher, right? So the real teacher tells the substitute what to do. Substitute does it and then reports back to the real teacher. That would be indirect rule. All right, protectorate. This again, I'll use a school example. This is a country with its own internal government, but it's under the control of an outside power. Again, you can use the substitute idea for this. That substitute has to report back to the original power, that is the teacher, right? Puerto Rico and Cuba, I put them both together, are examples of that even today. Puerto Rico, they are technically a territory of the United States. However, they have their own government set up. You can think about it as if, who is the principal of our school? Mr. Case. Now, Mr. Case has rules for his teachers to do. He wants some basic things in every single classroom. But ultimately, when you go in each different classroom, are there different rules? Slightly different, but generally the same, right? I mean, it's not like you can go into next door and do something completely different that you can do in here. So again, we have simple rules that are all... Just skip over. All right. Sphere of influence. This is what's going to happen in Asia. When you influence something, what happens? What? Okay, they could get turned around. They follow what you do, right? If you have an influence on somebody, they follow what you do, right? So hopefully you have good influences in your life, so that you follow them in a good way. In Asia, the European countries didn't want to take over them. They didn't want to take new land. What they want to do is just trade with them. So there are going to be specific places in China specifically where European countries like Britain, France, Germany, Russia are going to have exclusive rights and trading privileges. Now, what does it mean to have exclusive rights? It's to them only. It's kind of like high school dating. In high school, Davin tries to get a bunch of different girls. But there's one girl that really, really stands out to Davin. Her name is Sherry. And Sherry really only likes Davin, even though she's seen some other guys on the side too.
What about Shanika?
No, Shanika's just one of your side girls, but you know. But what ends up happening is Davin and Sherry say, you know what, we should be exclusive with each other. Meaning that they're only going to date each other, they're not going to date everybody else too. So they're going to go steady with each other, right? Okay? So that would be exclusive. If you only have that one boyfriend or girlfriend, depending on what you choose.
So that got Shanika?
Yeah, you got to let Shaniqua down and be like, hey, look, me and Sherry, we got this thing, you know. But I'm going to keep your number on my phone, just in case. Just in case. No, that's messed up. Alright, so that is that. Any questions on any of this? No, of course not.